think that everyone that watching this will have seen some scientist or other say to us as though they're telling us something really significant, that we're all made of star stuff. So all of the elements in our body originally came from stars. And this includes oxygen, carbon, iron from supernovae. All of the elements in our body came originally from stars, and so we're all made of star stuff. And I wanted to talk about that because that's never impressed me. And here's why. So what? Who cares? We're all made of elements that were made in stars. Who cares about that? Why should we care? Why do scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson tell us with such great satisfaction, as though we're supposed to be impressed, that we're all made of elements that were made in stars? Because the same science that's just telling us that also tells us that stars are just giant balls of gas in which nuclear fusion reactions go on that create elements. And so stars are nothing more than element-making factories. So why should it be impressive that we're made of things that are made in stars? What is it about that should really catch our imagination or make us feel special or something? And it's not like we worship stars or the sun anymore, right? The same science that is telling us all these things has also told us that only primitive cultures would worship natural phenomena or treat with reverence a natural phenomena like a star or the sun, treat as sacred a natural phenomena. Only primitive societies would do that. So we're not primitive anymore, so we don't do that. So star is not sacred, it's not special, it's an element-making factory, it's a giant ball of gas, and we're made of stuff that's made in stars. What's the big deal? Why should I be impressed? And it is as though the same scientists that are telling us this, on some level, still feel like stars are special things, right? There's something special about stars or the sun, and therefore we should actually feel impressed. But I don't know why. The question is, why do they think that? And one has to assume that somewhere deep down there in the scientist that's saying this, that there's still a sense of wonder and awe about the existence of stars. That there's still something special about the existence of stars. And that therefore, the fact that we're made of that material would make us special too. But what is it that would be special about a star? And this, I think, must remain quite unconscious within the scientists that say these things. It's like, what is it that's special about a star? And in other words, they couldn't just merely be element-making factories. They couldn't just merely be giant balls of gas that have nuclear fusion reactions and put out light. It couldn't just be that. There must be something more that is going on inside the scientists themselves. There must be almost a sense of reverence about stars, a sense of them being special. So that the scientists themselves, on some level, in terms of telling us that we're made of star stuff as though that's a very special thing, themselves are guilty of what they criticize primitive societies of being. And I'm glad, actually. I'm glad that they're guilty of that. And so they should be guilty of that. But they wouldn't admit to it, for the most part, I think. So it still isn't impressive to me that they tell me that. And in order for it to be impressive, you'd have to say more. You'd have to say something like, stars should be treated with reverence. Stars should be the subject of wonder and awe. That stars are sacred in our universe. That stars might, well, have a deep level of consciousness themselves. And then you would be saying to me, not only am I made of elements of star stuff, I'm made of that same sacredness. I'm made of that same deep consciousness that stars are made of, right? And if that is true, if I'm made of that same deep consciousness that stars are made of, then I can look up at the night sky and see my ancestors in the sky. I can see my relatives in the sky. I can see consciousness looking back at me in the light of stars. And then the world becomes a very different kind of place. But until you're willing to say those kinds of things, then this idea of being made of star stuff is a completely unimpressive and inconsistent one for scientists to be talking to us about. So I say, let's go our own route on this. Let's take it as far as we want to take it. And let's look up at the night sky and see our ancestors in the stars, looking down on us, shining down on us, and we're looking back at them. And have that experience, and then see how that feels to us. And that's my suggestion for this blog. Thanks for listening.